right, so welcome everyone to the OHDSI Europe Symposium 2025. For years, I have been a loyal fan of this event, and let us be honest, Erasmus Rotterdam has been doing an amazing job and will still do in the future in hosting it. But I also saw an opportunity. What if the symposium would travel? What if we could make it easier for new regions to join simply by reducing the physical distance? I dream of an OHDSI Europe in the nature-rich north like Finland, or a sunny edition in Italy, or discovering the cultural richness of Estonia. In other words, a symposium that helps us explore OHDSI Europe in all its directions. Last year, I half-jokingly shared this idea with Peter and said I might be willing to go first, but I never truly thought it would become a reality. But it was in October where Peter and Patrick asked me, would you be willing to organize the next one? And I remember feeling two things: excitement, what an opportunity for OHDSI Belgium, but also nervousness. Could I actually do it? But I once read that excitement and nervousness feel the same in your body, and you have a choice. So I chose to feel excited. Though I might have underestimated how big this operation really is, and my team will confirm that this is a recurrent theme in my life. I'm grateful for Peter and Patrick for the trust that they have placed in my team and I, but I'm even more grateful to see so many of you willing to come to Hasselt. Because of course, in the end, this symposium is all about the people and the community that make it work. And let's take a moment to see who you are. So as you can see, we were sold out 1 week before registrations, and I think it's one of the first years that we actually had to decline people and work with a cancellation list. So we have 365 participants and 110 posters, 8 rapid-fire presentations, and 13 software demos. And we have 29 different dietary preferences. You can just see this as diversity. So I talked to Patrick, and apparently it's one of the first years where there are only 12% that are new from OHDSI. Apparently it's typically between 20 or 30%, but you can definitely see this as a good thing. That means that people are willing to come back and actually really want to attend the next year. We're also very proud to see that the geographical distributions of our participants is truly international and that almost all countries are represented. And again, you can see that the physical distance does make a difference. So I hope that next time when we really go to a completely different area, that also participants from underexplored regions could participate. But it's not only Europe. As you can see, almost every single continent is represented, and we're super proud of that. So obviously, we also want to have true stakeholder representation, and I'm again extremely happy to see that we managed to accomplish that. It is almost like a perfect distribution across academics, representatives from pharmaceutical companies or technology, as well as healthcare professionals and policymakers. So today is all about joining the network and joining the journey. We can see that in the past few years, we've invested a lot of energy in harmonizing the data, and now it's this time to truly scale up and go towards generating impact. So we will start with an introduction by Peter and Patrick about what OHDSI is all about, and then there will be a session where the national nodes will take the core of that session and will give you a good overview of what's going on in Europe. Then there are posters that were selected for oral presentations. We call this the collaborator showcase, and that will be after the coffee break. So the lunch break will again be at Café Cour, but before we take the lunch, we will take the memorable group pictures. So make sure to participate in the collaborator showcase if you want to be on the picture of the edition 2025. And then, obviously, as always, we really want you to connect with everybody. So we take this very long break, and we call it the Collaborator Showcase. Take time to connect, visit the posters, visit the sponsor booths, go to the National Note Corner, as well as ensure that you have the software demos. For those of you who have registered for the early investigator mentor meeting, that will be during that break. And then I expect all of you to come back at 4 o'clock for the closing, which is actually the thing that specifically I am looking forward the most, where we will have a multi-stakeholder debate about the big question: what can OHDSI do to support the implementation of the European health data space legislation, and also what does it mean for our community? And then the rector and I, we will close the ceremony. And you can see that my voice starts cracking when I talk about the ceremony, because that is the one I am the most nervous for. Sneak peek. So obviously this would never have been possible without the support of our sponsors. Make sure that you visit our sponsored booths, and we are very grateful for their support. And now it is my pleasure to introduce someone who hardly needs an introduction in this community. He has been the driving force behind OHDSI Europe for several years. Please join me in welcoming Peter Rijnbeek.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here in a prison. Liesbet promised me that we can get out at the end, right? That's very important. It's great to be here and see so many familiar faces, and also a percentage of new people, which we, of course, also need. Let me remind me about our mission. The mission of OHDSI Europe is completely aligned with the OHDSI global mission. And I'd like to read it out loud to all of you. To improve health by empowering a community to collaboratively generate the evidence that promotes better health decisions and better care. So it's really about empowering the community, and we've been doing this for many years now, and we see a strong growth in the community and a lot of very nice new interactions and results. I will show a few of that in my slides. The vision, of course, is that we have a world in which observational research produces a comprehensive understanding of health and disease. And we like to think big. Big in the sense of many databases, many types of questions, and we like to generate really large-scale, reliable evidence across Europe and, of course, across the world. In that sense, we are a little bit different in Europe, but we're also part of a very big, large global community that has the same mission and vision, and we are, of course, very much aligned and collaborating. Now, we have a bit of a history in Europe. We started in 2018. We then had these nice hoodies, and they are still very interesting for people to have. We have a few leftovers, but I probably could also generate a new batch because everybody likes to have those first ones. And then we went to bigger, more people, and then finally we ended up at the steamship Rotterdam, as you see on the top, which is a very, very nice location to have the symposium. And we have been really pushing the agenda of the OMOP Common Data Model adoption and the use of the OHDSI tools in Europe, and that has scaled up quite a bit. So there are, of course, a number of good examples just to mention to you before we move into Patrick's large overview. But I think it's important to mention that the number of projects in Europe, European funded projects, OHDSI projects, Horizon Europe projects, that are building on the OMOP Common Data Model is strongly increasing. And also for the new open calls that are out there, there's often either a requirement or a suggestion to build on these type of on the network that we've created. But I also see it very often that we are contacted and others in our community are contacted to participate in new calls. There's a lot of databases, and I know there's more than 200 because within the Eden project we already had that, but there's many more, and we like to know about your data source, and there will be a question later on. We have a growing list of national nodes, many countries, now 16 countries, and you will see a nice overview in the next one of the next sessions. But I think it's also very important to realize that the scientific output that we have generated in Europe is growing very, very fast. I think, Patrick, last year you actually gave an overview that the amount of scientific output coming from Europe on this is actually almost bigger than from the US and the global community, because there's so much enthusiasm in this group and others outside of this group. Lastly, of course, also very important, the Darwin EU initiatives for the European Medicines Agency has created a boost also, because we are using a network there on OMOP to answer questions that matter to the regulator. And there's a nice session, also a nice room with a lot of output from Darwin that I would advise you to have a look at. This is a new thing. Because of the growth of the community, we are going to add a monthly meeting, a call, focused on Europe, where we can share our results. And that is next to the global one. And I know some of you, not everybody, has been joining the global meetings on the Tuesday at the end of the day. But Patrick and I decided to introduce a new meeting where we can also express or share our learnings at scale, and this would be at a bit easier, a better time for you at 1 o'clock. So you'll be seeing an invitation for that, and I hope you will join and also share with us ideas for topics. Then the OHDSI Europe, Liesbet already mentioned, we're going to be rotating across Europe. It's very nice to take that opportunity. The idea will be that we will go back to the ship 1 year and then go back to another location, so we have time to prepare the next national note for this journey, and it is quite a lot of work, so you need some time to prepare. And we decided also to move it a little bit earlier in the year to not be too close to the global symposium, and it's a bit difficult. And so it's now going to be in April 8th until 20th of April in Rotterdam. We will discuss with the national note leads who is going to be the next location. So this will be a topic that the national note leads will have to decide on, and I think we should do a majority vote or something on which location we'll go next. Then, why Belgium? Well, this was a very good reason. So they actually brought some beer at the last OHDSI Symposium. But also, of course, as Liesbet mentioned, there is enormous amount of activity, and Liesbet did a fantastic job in growing the community here, and we were very happy to have you as the next lead. And also because of this nice gift that she brought at one of the symposia. But I think, Liesbet, you need a very, very big hand, very big applause, because I think you did a fantastic job. And I have here some flowers for you.
It's really nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
we did
you.
3.
Thank you, thank you.
And of course, this is also for the full team, which did a fantastic job, a lot to Ilse and others. And that brings me to hand over to Patrick Ryan to give an overview of the activities.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I feel like there should be more energy in here for an OHDSI Europe Symposium. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. All right, a little bit better. I'm Patrick Ryan. I'm going to give a little bit of journey of OHDSI and what we've accomplished together. And I have to say, the last 2 days and today has been the most positive energy I've felt all year. It has been a challenging time for lots of things around the world, but seeing all of the inspired collaboration and connections with people has been truly uplifting for me. So I'm really excited to be here. And one of the luxuries I get of presenting, trying to summarize things, I get a little bit of an opportunity to reflect on what's happened. And every year, most of you know me as being someone who's largely impatient and always want to do more, faster, bigger, and keep pushing. But when I do these reflections, it gives me a chance to actually look back at what we've actually accomplished in the year. And it always gets me excited to be able to look at what we've done together as a community. Let's see. So, OHDSI is all about collaboration. For the 12% of newcomers here, I want to talk about how you can be a collaborator and how you can work together. In OHDSI, we collaborate on open community data standards. How many of you here are working on the OMOP Common Data Model? Everybody's got their hands up. That's very exciting. We are also an active scientific community that's collaborating on open source development to develop freely available software to support the analysis of data. How many of you are collaborating on open source software in the room? Very good chunk of folks are developers, so that's great. We are also a community that's collaborating on methodologic research because we realize that in order to appropriately analyze real-world data, we need to not just do what we've always been doing before, but actually develop new approaches and critically evaluate them so that we know we are applying scientific best practices that can be empirically demonstrated to work. How many of you are collaborating together on methodologic research? Some folks, good. And of course, as Peter said, our real primary goal is to actually generate evidence, to answer questions that matter to patients. How many of you are collaborating on clinical evidence generation? Lots of hands. Now, usually for those 12% of newcomers, usually there's this feeling of imposter syndrome of like, I can't possibly do all of these things. And the whole point is that none of us individually can do all of these things. This is explicitly why we need to be a community to collaborate together to do all of this. Now, in addition, OHDSI is a very large, the world's largest international distributed data network. That means organizations who have patient-level data can standardize their data to the OMOP Common Data Model, can download open source software, and can participate in network studies. We now have hundreds of databases around the world, and Europe is really the place where we know there's the biggest need for a distributed data network, and we're seeing the greatest accomplishments there. So raise your hand if you are part of a distributed data network in Europe. Lots of data represented in the room. What I'm most proud about is when we actually take advantage of all those collaborations and all of that data to actually conduct OHDSI network studies, where any of you are empowered and invited and encouraged to think of an important research question, design a study, take advantage of the open source software, offer it up to this distributed data network, bring back aggregate summary statistics without ever risking patient privacy, collaborate to interpret those results, and then disseminate that evidence so that we can improve the lives of patients. Now the question, I want you all to be honest, who amongst you have led an OHDSI network study? Raise your hand. All right, not as many hands. I hope at OHDSI 2026, there will be more hands raised for those of you who could lead a study. And I don't want you to have imposter syndrome, like that must be too hard and too complex. We have an entire community to support those of you. All it takes to be a leader is to raise your hand and be willing to participate. And I sincerely hope that you will. So you can be here, you can be here, you can be here, you can be here. You do not need to be everywhere, but you can have the opportunity to make a substantial contribution to the lives of patients in Europe and around the world simply by being part of this community and contributing what you can to our work. So the world is big. Europe is a leading part of what we are doing in the OHDSI community. But just to give you current statistics, the OHDSI global community, we now have over 4,600 collaborators in 83 countries, and we are trying to figure out how to collaborate together. And I'll, at the risk of sounding too political, I think there's lots of things going on in the world right now that make it easy to think that it's hard to do international collaboration. But I think that the spirit and the mission of what we have makes it essential that we figure out actually how to collaborate around the world. And I think in Europe, it's a real nice demonstration that while it's wonderful to be here in Belgium, Belgium alone can't answer Europe's questions. When we were on the steamship Rotterdam, we would always say like, Netherlands is amazing, but that cannot answer the question. Europe needs to figure out a way to work together. And I think that our OHDSI Europe community has really been one of the primary demonstrations of what's possible through international collaboration. The way that we work is people in the community choose to lead activities of shared interest with other members of the community. We have lots of work group leaders. Raise your hand if you are a work group leader in the OHDSI community. We've got about a dozen. Raise your hand. Oh, I can't actually see. The lights are very bright. All right, so we've got about a dozen of our work group leaders here. But if you are interested in leading something, all you have to do is say, I'd like to lead something. And as long as there's one other person across that 4,600 people who has a shared interest in your topic, you've got a work group. A lot of people think that it must be too hard, or you must go through some sort of training, or it must be, you must be really special to be able to work group lead. But all it actually takes is the courage to want to lead collaboration. And each time one of these groups sets up, someone's like, well, I'm not sure how it's going to work. And every one of these groups has actually made a meaningful contribution in the area that they're interested in. So I'd encourage you to think about what is the thing that you're interested in. Is it possible that around the world someone else is actually interested in that topic? And take the opportunity to forge that collaboration and move it forward. Of course, while I'm talking about international collaboration, there's a necessity for us to actually figure out how to support the world and also support the region and the countries. We do have regional chapters around the world. You're going to hear about our national nodes in OHDSI Europe. Specifically, Renske will moderate that session with everybody. But what I think is actually important is not to think about, should I work in OHDSI Belgium, or should I work in OHDSI Europe, or should I work in OHDSI Global, but rather, what are those local problems we need to solve in Belgium? How does that relate to the regional problems that we need to solve in Europe? And how does that connect to what we're trying to do around the world to solve problems of shared interest? With that in mind, I want to highlight that OHDSI UK is going to take place in September. Our global symposium is going to be in October. We're going to have our first Africa symposium in November, and our OHDSI APAC symposium will take place in China in December. And these are all opportunities that for those of you who are interested in seeing what's happening around the world to learn and experience and share your own wisdom. You all know about the OMOP Common Data Model. The thing that I would actually say that's more important than the technical specification of having a common data model is a community that actually reaches the point of agreed shared conventions and works together towards a common solution. I actually care a lot less about what that common solution is, a lot more about that we collaborate towards a common solution. And so while I know a lot of you have really nice work that you will be presenting during the Collaborator Showcase, think about what we can be doing to actually facilitate working together in the same direction. The Common Data Model has been adopted by over 540 data sources, and of course, many of them are in Europe. I think the responsibility that we have is, given that we now have built the world's largest data network, we need to take on the responsibility of what is that evidence that patients need to know, answering questions that matter, and recognize that we have the best opportunity of anyone in the world to actually address those questions using real-world data. Now, I want to have a couple of the highlights from the last OHDSI Europe Symposium back in June of last year, things that have happened between then and now that we're here in Belgium. One of those is that we successfully completed the Eden project. The Eden actually sunset in October of 2024. And this is one project that I'm proud of having participated in because of the fact that it forced collaboration across Europe, facilitated bringing together academics and industry and data partners and SMEs all together, working together. If you take a picture of that QR code, you'll see our story journey. For those of you who don't actually know all the things that happened in Eden, it's really a great opportunity for you to take advantage of that. I also want to celebrate that Monsi, who did an amazing job coordinating, was our 2024 Titan Award winner across the OHDSI Global Symposium for Open Community Collaboration. So congratulations to Monsi. So Eden, as a project, had 187 data sources standardized to the Common Data Model. This also provided a foundation for lots of extra work. There is a paper that has been accepted and is going to come out in JMIR that Claire Blacketer led that actually summarizes the collective data network that we had. And there's this amazing visualization that Martijn and Claire came up with, which I encourage you to read the paper and look at this visualization simply because of the amount of data density packed into one piece, one visualization. It's very impressive to think about the magnitude of what we've done, which is only impressive because of the fact that together we put together Europe's largest ever data network. We also established an ecosystem. We have, raise your hand if you're an SME from the Eden project in the room here. So we've got probably about a dozen here represented. The idea that we created organizations capable of supporting other individuals and other organizations to get on the journey from data to evidence, I think is really important. And while the project finished with these SMEs certified, there's very much an expectation that I have that this is really setting the foundation for how we can continue collaboration moving forward. And of course, the Eden Academy was one of our accomplishments in the Eden project to create a free educational resource that we created it for the purposes of certifying the SMEs, and actually found that there were thousands of learners around the world that actually wanted to take advantage of learning. I think one of the main opportunities for collaboration in our community is actually when we develop some scientific insights that we figure out creative ways to share that information with others. And I think that's something that we should be proud of as a community, that we really are trying to foster that shared learning. Another tremendous accomplishment, as Peter alluded to, is Darwin EU, the European Medicines Agency's large initiative to have a distributed network specifically to support regulatory needs. And when Darwin, I guess you're now in 4th year, as Darwin has gotten going, we've seen the progress of how real-world evidence is being able to be used by the European Medicines Agency, and that's having a gigantic ripple effect across industry and the rest of the world to see what's possible. One of the things I specifically want to direct you to, it came out just last week actually, is a report from the EMA on real-world evidence framework to support EU regulatory decision-making. This is a report that's not specifically about Darwin EU, though Darwin EU figures very prominently in it. You can see the 30 data partners that are in the Darwin EU network at the time of this print. Many of these data partners came out of the work from our OHDSI community through the Eden project, all facilitated through the OMOP Common Data Model and OHDSI tools. But what actually I think is more impressive that I think provides us a clear direction of where we need to go as a community is not just about the fact that Darwin exists, but like what it's actually accomplished and what's possible moving forward. In this report, they specifically summarize that the EMA had over 100 research topics, that 113 studies were completed, of which 60 of them were done by the Darwin EU team. And actually, raise your hand if you are part of the Darwin EU community. As a coordinator, wow, so like a third of the room are part of this tremendous accomplishment. It's just amazing to think when we talk about a yearly report and have 100 studies, you start to do the math and you start realizing that's a lot of studies over a very short amount of time. And it's something that's only possible if you actually can facilitate a large-scale collaboration. Now, a couple of the highlights that they mentioned, that EMA mentioned in their report, we've got 30 data partners, 180 million patients representing 16 European countries. That's particularly impressive. The fact that there was a 47% increase in the number of studies that were completed. Think about that in just a year to have the capability to have 50% increase in what you're able to do is really quite remarkable. But actually, I want to highlight this last point, that the median study duration of Darwin EU studies is now 4 months from the time of protocol approval to study results. Now, most of us grew up in a world where anybody who wanted to design and execute an observational study had a reasonable expectation that it was going to take years. And some of you have heard me railing on this point for now over a decade, talking about the fact that I find that to be wholly unacceptable. Because if patients need answers to questions, they need answers to questions now, not years from now. The fact that we're down now to a median duration of 4 months, I think is a remarkable accomplishment to think about the fact that the evidence is now almost at that point where it can be available, at the point that important decisions need to be made to benefit the whole of Europe. And I think that's a remarkable accomplishment by the team working together, but also because of what we've built together as a community. But I also want to put a big challenge to you. 4 months is amazing. What would it be like if we could generate evidence in 4 weeks? What would the world look like if we could actually generate evidence in 4 days? What if I told you that it should be reasonable for us to expect that when I have a question, I should expect answers in 4 hours? Many of you are probably now using GPT and expecting that if you need an answer, you just ask GPT and you should get it in 4 seconds. Right? I think that this is a tremendous accomplishment, but I also think it represents a game change from where the world has been before. I think there's so much more orders of magnitude that we can and should get better, and I'm optimistic that we will get there. I also want to just highlight very briefly, in this report, they talk about the things that need to happen to enable the further use of RWE, more access to data, more regulatory context, more acceleration and capacity, and more collaboration. I think this is exactly where we are contributing as a community, but where we can also remain focused to deliver the needs in Europe. Another accomplishment in 2024, the Draghi report came out on the future of European competitiveness, and explicitly in it, it talked about maximizing the impact of the European health data space. And 2 things that it specifically called out was how we need to learn and build off of what we all accomplished as a community in Eden, and we need to learn and build off of what has been accomplished in the Darwin EU project. I think it's remarkable to think that the future of Europe depends on some of the work that we're doing. But I also think that that's necessary to reflect on the fact that we have an obligation to drive the future of Europe, and it's being a call to action for all of us. All right. Last year at the OHDSI Symposium, I put up a poll everywhere, and I specifically asked you all, what evidence should we generate together and showcase at the OHDSI Europe Symposium in 2025? I specifically was trying to get you to figure out what questions that patients actually want the answers to, but many of you said other things. It was fun to reflect on coming back to our symposium this year to think about, okay, you all said we should do some things last year, but what actually happened? This was the top 10 list on that poll everywhere last year. These are the top 10 things that you said should be showcased at this year's OHDSI Europe Symposium. So I'm going to very quickly do a roll call to see how well we actually did at trying to deliver on the needs that we set. Number one was more research-friendly sharing of ETLs and mappings. You're going to see software demonstrations and presentations from around the world, making real tangible progress towards how we improve the process of standardizing to the OMOP Common Data Model and tools to support that. You all said we should do more research in women's health, and you will see posters specifically focused on how do we learn across our regions in areas like breast cancer. You all said we should do more in data quality, and indeed you're going to see a wide array of different progress we're making towards getting better at improving data quality and fitness for use through various posters and presentations. You all said that we should focus on drug safety, and one of our lightning talks is going to be a specific demonstration from Darwin of a real safety question that would have mattered or does matter to millions of patients and the impact that results from the Darwin EU network provided to support that regulatory decision. You all said that we should focus on comparing databases, and you're going to hear from our colleagues at the EMA about how we're working towards creating more standardized data catalogs to facilitate this work. You all said we should do rare diseases, and we do have work being presented specifically about how do we identify rare diseases, potentially using natural language processing. You all said that we should be doing mental health research, and indeed, we've seen some clinical evidence generated, showcased this week on mental health. You all said that we should be interested in cancer survival and treatment outcomes, and indeed, there's quite a bit of work that is being showcased in many different areas of oncology. You all said that we should be focused on natural language processing, and indeed, there's quite a lot of collaborator showcases focused on that topic. And you all said that we should work on synthetic data generation. At least Cesar submitted something that we're going to see some synthetic data available. So I think it's pretty amazing to think what we wanted to do, you're now going to see in action 1 year later here at this symposium. My last 1 minute, I want to make a note on collaboration and then ask for an open call for collaboration. I want you all to raise your hand if you are using large language models in your daily activities. Almost everybody is raising their hand. Now I want you to stand up if you're able, if you are doing research into using large language models and how they can improve the journey from real-world data evidence. Stand up if you're doing work using LLMs. Stand up. Okay, I want you to look around. Okay, so like I'd say like maybe a quarter of the room is actually doing research there. Now stay standing up. I want you to jump up and down if you are presenting LLM research at this meeting today. There's got to be a few that are jumping. Okay. Now I want you to wave your hands if your research presented today is named after the Greek goddess of magic. There should be multiple hands being waved. We actually have independent research going on where two different groups doing two separate problems actually named their software the exact same thing in our community. I think that why I want to say this, I'm very proud of the collaboration that we're creating as a community, but I also think we've got to find ways to collaborate even closer together. All of us are impacted by LLMs. A third of this room is actually doing research on LLM. Very few of you are collaborating together as one community on LLMs. I think that this is just a demonstration of what's possible if instead of us having 375 people in this room doing 375 different things, if we can come together as one community to solve one big problem for patients, we can actually have a profound impact on the entire world. So with that, I'm going to open up one poll everywhere to offer this up. I want to hear from you. What are your collaborative projects that you are doing that involve using the OMOP Common Data Model and OHDSI tools? If you can scan this QR code, they're going to put up a bigger QR code. If you can scan this, I want you to just type in the name of collaboration. Like I mentioned Eden, I mentioned Darwin. Many of you are involved in other projects. I want to capture those names of those projects real quickly, because one of the things that Peter and I have observed is there's so many projects happening in Europe where nobody says that they are part of the OHDSI community, they just say the name of their project. But then we learn that that project is actually built using the OMOP Common Data Model or taking advantage of OHDSI tools. And what if I leave you with nothing else, my passionate plea is that these projects, these collaboration opportunities, are the linchpin for us to figure out how to actually collaborate even more as a community. So maybe if we could flip it over to the poll everywhere just so we can see. All right. We're going to just take an extra 15, 30 seconds. I want you to enter in your collaborative names. It's like a psychedelic, crazy thing going on there. So I want you to take stock of the fact that every one of these words here represents a collaboration, something that's going on in the community. How many different smaller collaborations are happening around Europe and around the world? It's great to see with some of the size of the words. There are many of you that are collaborating in the same projects, and it's great to see that Darwin is at the center of what we're doing right now to support things that are going on in Europe. But I also want you to think about that all of these are different projects, but they actually are all opportunities for us to actually come together and think about not just what each project can do by itself, but how can these projects work together towards providing a common solution. So with that, I'll stop, and I will. Our next session is actually going to be focused on our national nodes. And so, with one last thing, I encourage you to think about what you can be doing to collaborate more with our community, and invite you to come up to me, talk to me about how I can support you in fostering that collaboration, not just for Europe, but for the entire world. Thank you very much.
Hello from Belgium.
Hello from Germany. Hallo aus Deutschland.
Hello from Denmark.
Goedemorgen. Groetjes uit Nederland.
Hello from Israel.
Greetings from Estonia.
Hello from Italy.
Hola.
Hola from Spain.
Hello from Hungary.
Greetings from Greece.
Hello from Norway.
Hello.
Hello from Ireland.
Hello from Ireland.
Hello from Ireland.
Hello from the UK.
Hola from Portugal.
Hi from Luxembourg. Morgen.
Good morning, OHDSI Europe. You have just been greeted by your national nodes. And for those of you that are new to the community and have never heard of national nodes are you and me. It's where we get together in our own safe environment with our OHDSI peeps and have fun, right? So I'm going to be walking around, and because the nodes are you and me, I'd like to see I heard a lot of Spanish, so I'd like to see a show of hands from people that are in the Spanish OHDSI node. Where are you? ¿Dónde estáis? Ah, you're the leads. There's other people out there. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you introduce yourself and tell the community what your Spanish node has brought you as a person or as a researcher?
So hi everyone, my name is Berta Rabantos. I work at Erasmus Medical Center at the moment, but I did my PhD at IDIAP Jordi Gol, which is a primary care center in Barcelona. And now it has even given me the opportunity to get to know many data partners that are starting to map their data to OMOP and are eager to start working on the data and start doing studies and collaborating. So yeah.
Cool, thank you very much. Now let's see, if you are from OHDSI Netherlands. Now, nobody's going to raise their hand, but peeps, I know who you are. I know where you are. Am I not going to do it? Am I not going to do it? Then I'm going to go to Peter here. Peter, will you tell the community who you are and what OHDSI Netherlands has brought you?
So I'm Peter Prinsen. I work at IKNL, the Netherlands Comprehensive Cancer Organization. We manage the Netherlands Cancer Registry. So I think for us, so we started with OMOP relatively early in the Netherlands, I think in 2020. So for us, it gives an opportunity to share with others what we've done and how we converted our data. And I think also to learn from others. That's very important for us as well.
Yeah, cool. And we're learning from you as well. So thank you for that. How about Greece? Yeah, Pantelis, you're there? Are you the only one from Greece that's here today? The only one coming from... Oh, we can't reach you up there, can we? All the way to the back. I'm going to run up for as far as I can run. So, Pantelis, can you share what the Greek note has brought you? Can you pass the mic on? Otherwise, you won't be able to hear him. Thank you.
Well, a lot of opportunities to join a very generous community, which has given us the chance to work with other partners in Europe, to join Darwin, to learn a lot, to gain a lot of know-how, and join a very, very nice journey.
Cool, thank you. So as you can hear, it's all about getting together, learning from each other, and sharing. So that I think is very, very nice. Now, on the topic of sharing, when we were preparing this symposium, we were thinking, what are we going to do this year? You know, what's going to be our theme? And last year, I introduced a little bit of the European Soccer Championships, and I would like to do that again this year because the women are playing. The Netherlands won their first match, so I'm excited about that. But we thought we would do something else, right? So we looked around and thought, what big other European thing can we use as inspiration? Because look at us, we're a big group of people here. And we ended up thinking that the Eurovision Song Contest is something that we might use as inspiration. No worries, Peter, we will not ask you to sing. We're not going there. So we thought we would introduce the nodes in a style that is particular to the Eurovision Song Contest. And we asked the node leads when they wanted to participate, do you want to showcase your node by dancing, or do you want to do it with data? And in the end, there was only one node lead who said he would rather do it by dancing. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. Sulev Rijnbeek from Estonia, and that's why he is not with us, because he has been invited to a very big dance contest in Estonia. So he has chosen, I think, a very nice thing to do. So, yeah, before I'm going to introduce the first speaker of the national nodes, I would like to show you a little video where some of the nodes introduce themselves. So if you could start the video, please.
Hello from Belgium. OHDSI Belgium means fun, community building, and hope. I just love the feeling of being connected with so many like-minded individuals, because together we are stronger.
Goedemorgen. Groetjes uit Nederland.
Odyssey NL for me is a fun club of people who make my life easier by standardizing data.
Odyssey helps us to standardize our data within our network of healthcare providers and also shows us efficient ways to analyze the data. And of course, we like to meet new people within the Odyssey Netherlands community.
As a nurse and PhD student, Odyssey has allowed me to explore a whole new field of healthcare in observational health data.
Greetings from Greece!
OHDSI means, first of all, the opportunity for us to interact with European colleagues working on real-world data. It also means to gain scientific know-how in terms of how to conduct observational studies, and a very big opportunity both for our team here in CERT and for other partners of OHDSI Greece to participate in European networks like Darwin, the network of the European Medicine Agency.
Hello from Germany. Hallo aus Deutschland.
Hallo aus Berlin. Hello from Bavaria.
Hello from the UK.
Three words about the UK are going to be the NHS, kindness, and research.
All right. And with those last words of Odyssey UK, I would like to introduce our first speaker today in the National Nodes session. That is Alex Knight from the UK. He is Project Manager Data Standards at Health Data Research UK, and he will be represented the UK National Node. Sorry, the clicker is there. And the floor.
Thank you very much. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. It's great to have the opportunity to talk to you about what we're doing in the UK. So thank you very much for inviting me. And really, this is all about a great partnership between Health Data Research UK that I work for and Danny and his team at Oxford. In particular, the co-leads for Odyssey UK, Danny Prieto-Alhambra and Ed Byrne. So we're doing a number of things together. Particularly, we've got Heron UK, which is our new real-world evidence network, but also we're working together on a number of community activities. Health Data Research UK, I should explain, is our national research institute for health data. We're a founding member of Odyssey UK, and we really value our partnership with Odyssey. So one of the key things we do is organising the Odyssey UK Symposium in partnership with Danny's team. So we had a very successful meeting last year. We had 120 people at our meeting in London. It was a wonderful atmosphere in the room, a fantastic event. I really enjoyed it. Despite the AV system blowing up 10 minutes before we were due to start, we managed to recover, and I think a lot of people didn't even notice, so that was great. As you've already heard, we've got our next meeting in September. We've had a more than twofold increase in the number of abstracts, so we're very excited. I'd like to encourage you all to register, but if you haven't registered already, I'm sorry, we're sold out, so sorry. I'd like to talk about Heron UK, which is our real-world evidence network. This has got a lot of moving parts to it. The network coordinators are HDR UK, working with Danny's team in Oxford, and different parts of it are led by Ed Byrne, Danny, and Marty Catella-Sabate. We have a review panel that has the regulatory and patient communities providing input into the network. We have 7 data partners who've all been onboarded to the network. We've done 2 studies, and we're planning for the future. So here's a little bit more information about our data partners. So they've all been onboarded. We have 3 hospitals in London, 2 hospitals in the north of England. We also have primary and secondary care data from Scotland, from DataLock, and we also have primary care data for England from CPRD. And as you can see, there's some quite astonishing numbers here. The 57 million total patient population is a very impressive number, but I feel I have to point out there's going to inevitably be a big overlap between the primary and secondary care data, but it's still big numbers. And in the UK network, we have 850 million patient condition occurrence records, 1.7 billion drug exposure records, and 1.3 billion procedure occurrence records. And this actually is not all of the data that we have. So we've also run 2 pilot studies. Now, these will follow the standard model of the data traveling, the software traveling to the data, standard analytics, and leveraging what's been developed under Darwin EU, and then the aggregate-based data traveling back to the coordinators. So the first study we did was on antibiotics on the World Health Organization watch list. And we're able to look at the levels of use over time of the different antibiotics, both in secondary care and primary care. And I think you can see, especially in the primary care data, there's some pretty big trends as guidelines have changed. Secondly, we ran so I should say all 7 of our data partners participated in the antibiotic study. 4 of the data partners participated in this study of high-cost medicines in secondary care. So these are medicines that have unusually high cost. They accounted for separately in the National Health Service. Really, we're trying to understand the use of these high-cost medicines in secondary care and the patients who are receiving them. So I think you can see some interesting trends. I should point out the one in blue is Great Ormond Street Hospital, so that's a specialist childcare hospital. So you can see in the middle column, the median age of the patients is unsurprisingly rather less than some of the others. The right-hand bar there is a percentage of male patients, and yeah, you can see across the different types, these are all different cancer medications. You can see the trends there because obviously some of them are more often used for breast and ovarian cancer. So, other work that we're doing, we arrange community meetings online roughly once every 3 months, which we call the OMOP Special Interest Group. So again, that's a joint activity between the Alliance of Data Custodians in the UK, which HDR UK convenes, and OHDSI UK, and it's co-chaired by Danny and Jeff Hall from Leeds, who is our Chief Clinical Data Officer. And we're planning a special event of an online cancer symposium, which is penciled in for the 18th of November, which we're looking forward to very much. We normally only do a 90-minute meeting. This is going to be a bit more ambitious. Going to be before and after lunch, so probably 3 or 4 hours. So we're looking forward to that. OHDSI UK, we've also got a new website, which Marty, who I hope is here somewhere, has done a brilliant job of putting together, which is great. Other stuff we've done, HDR UK had to fund 5 of the Eden projects for various tedious political reasons, but it has been a great experience for me collaborating with the Eden team, especially Monty, and working with the various different Eden data partners and supporting them in their starting their OMOP journey, which has been fantastic. And we're also currently working, again in partnership with Danny's team, on developing new OMOP training material. So the next steps we're planning, as we said, we've mentioned the 2 meetings. There is a lot of OMOP-related activity in the UK that I haven't mentioned, and I want to shout out particularly to people in Nottingham and Dundee and other activities that are going on across the UK. And one of our ambitions is to sort of knit everything together a bit better and talk to each other a bit more. We're hoping when the funding gets confirmed, as I'm sure it will, we'll be running another year of the Heron UK network. We have 3 manuscripts to be published. We want to build up sustainable funding and partnerships for the network. We want to onboard new data partners and run new studies. And I just realized I've forgotten I have a list of poster numbers. There are actually 4 posters here about the Heron UK network. So if you're interested in hearing more about it, posters 96, 14, 58, 10 and 12 are all coming from the Heron UK network. And there's also a couple of software demos that are worth visiting that I encourage you to go and see. So we were asked to say, what does being a member of OHDSI UK do for us? And HDI UK's mission is to unite the UK's health and care data to enable discoveries that improve people's lives. And I have to say, being part of OHDSI UK really enables us to deliver on that mission. And there is sometimes some skepticism from some people who are not in this community about the value of OMOP. And I think being part of OHDSI UK and being able to do things like setting up the Heron UK network has really enabled us to demonstrate the power of what OMOP can do and hopefully silence those skeptics. And the other question we were asked to address is what do we do to support new OHDSI members? And the key things here are training, the events and the community building work that we're doing. HDI UK also funds some activities at a relatively modest level to try and address little needs that we can identify here and there across the community. So for example, I think Danny mentioned, for those of you who were here yesterday, there was a key UK vocabulary that hadn't been, the OMOP mapping hadn't been updated, so we were able to commission an excellent team at Cyforce, who I think are also here to resolve that problem very quickly and enable our Heron UK data partners to map all their drug data. So that was great to be involved in. And the end of it all is all about collaboration and working together. And as I said, we've fantastic partnership with Danny's team in Oxford and everyone across the UK and beyond, which we really love. So I will end there. Thank you very much.
Take that one from you. Thanks very much, Alex, for that, I think, very inspiring presentation to see all the work that you guys have been doing in the UK. Massive numbers of patients, but also massive number of events and things coming out of the UK. If I can ask a more personal question to you, what is the most memorable thing for you that has come out of this?
Oh, I mean, I think just to be able to bring together that many people in a room, all enthused about the same topic, all excited to be there, and a real atmosphere. And just to have been able to be part of that has been fantastic. So okay,
cool. We have a couple of new national nodes. Do you have any tips for them on how they can get started and grow their community? Is there one thing you say you have to do this?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to talk to each other. I mean, and
it's as easy as that.
Yeah,
just talk to each other.
But because every country's needs are different, and figuring out what the barriers are, you need an open conversation between the people who have the data, the people who are going to do the analysis, and you'll work it out.
All right, thanks very much. Any questions from the room? The lights are indeed bright, Patrick. You're so smart. Okay, well, you'll be around all day, so if anything pops up, make sure you reach out to Alex.
Great.
Thanks very much. So yes, since Rotterdam last year, we have onboarded 2 new national nodes. So very excited about that. We would like to welcome Hungary and also the All Ireland node, and the All Ireland node is like fresh off the press. I think they only joined last month. So we are very excited to have them here. And I remember last year at the Odyssey Europe Symposium, Agota actually came up to me and she said, I'm from Hungary. We do not have a Hungarian national node. How do I become a national node? And there you are, ladies and gentlemen. We are a year on, and it didn't even take them a year. It went way faster, and they are already having an impact on also the work that we are doing with the national nodes together. So it can go really fast. If you are not yet, or if you're living and working in a country that does not yet have a national node, you know, it doesn't have to be a big thing. You can start small by just talking to each other. And, you know, you can have more fun when you're with more people than when you are alone, I think. So just reach out and to any of the node leads or myself, and we will help you get started with that national node. Now, let me move on to the next. Oh, I'm going too fast. Can we go one back? Oh, I can do that myself. Oh, sorry. I'm in charge. All right. So yeah, as was mentioned before, we now have 16 national nodes in Europe, but that means we have there's still countries that don't have a national node yet. So if you do not see your country represented here, then make sure you reach out. I know we are already we've got 2 people that I've heard about that are aspiring to become a node. I will not yet reveal who those people were, but maybe next year we you know, let's just aim for 20. Shall we be bold and see if we can get 20 next year? Let's try that. Okay, so the only thing as a national node that you have to do, that we make you do, is fill in one A4 at the end of the year to tell Odyssey Europe about what you have been doing as a national node and what your plans are for next year. And we call that our National Nodes Annual Report. And we put them all together and share them. They're on the Odyssey Europe website. So if you want to know more about what the nodes have been doing, or if you are not yet part of your national nodes and you're curious, start by reading this to see what is possible and what's going on.
Hello from Denmark. We are so proud and happy to be a part of the Odyssey network and are aiming and actually, I think, succeeding in improving patient care through the collaborations that we have here.
Hello from
Hello from Ireland.
Hello from Ireland.
Hello from Ireland.
Hello from
We are thrilled to establish an all-island Odyssey node, building on your global leadership and collaborative vision. Odyssey Ireland is united by data, enabling innovation.
Hello from Hungary. The Odyssey National Node Hungary is all about working together. Instead of working on our own projects separately, we started working together, collaborating, talking, sharing ideas, because we believe that together we are stronger.
Hello from Norway.
Welcome to the Cancer Registry of Norway. They used to be a part of the hospital, but are now a part of the National Institute of Public Health. Now meet Sirit, co-lead of the Norwegian National Node, and expert in metadata, classifications, and international projects. As part of the National Node, Sirit tirelessly calls for meetings and writes minutes that no one reads.
What? No one reads them?
I'm sorry. Let's move on. OHDSI means sharing efforts to make data more accessible, benefiting the population and future cancer patients.
Sharing is caring.
Cute. And now meet Espen, the other co-lead. For him, the node is about learning from each other.
And do whatever Siri tells me to do.
Hello from Italy.
Hello from Italy.
Hello from Italy. Ciao da Milano.
Hello from Italy.
What do I love about Odyssey? It feels like joining a global health data jam session. Everyone is playing a different instrument, but together we make something powerful.
All right. And the person that leads the jam session, at least the scientific part of it in Odyssey Italy, is our next speaker, Lucia. It's Sacchi. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting us to showcase our activities in Odyssey Italia. I will share a particular activity that we have been doing during these past 2 years. So Odyssey Italia, our national node was born from the Eden experience. As you saw also in the introductive slides, Italy was one of the countries who had the highest number of data partners taking part to the Eden project. And so from that experience, our national node was born in June 2022, and it now involves more than 60 people, 40 institutions, and 22 data partners, who are the majority of those who were taking part to the Eden project, and you can see them here. Given that we had this high number of institutions and data partners involved, the first thing we wanted and tried to do was to see if we could run some studies within our nodes. And basically the idea was to try to do these studies to evaluate how our data partners were ready to participate in a study using Odyssey tools, with respect to the technical readiness, but also to highlight the barriers and challenges connected to running a real study in our country. So basically, we decided to do 2 studies. One is a characterization study that's coordinated by the coordinator of the node, so our university in Pavia. And the other one is a study related to create a model for the onset of hospital sepsis, and instead that is coordinated by a data partner, a hospital in Pavia. So basically, while setting up these studies, what we found out was that the main challenges that we encountered at the beginning of these studies were challenges related to the processing of the data. And in particular, when we want to perform a real study, it is necessary that in each center, the data are transferred from their original source to the OMOP database. And of course, this, according to the GDPR, is considered already as a data processing step. Then basically we have 2 levels of data processing. The first one that is the one that I've just mentioned, so taking the data from the original source to the OMOP database. And then there is the processing of the study results, but that is easier because those are aggregated data, so there should be less problem. So the first step was the one that was really locking the setup of the studies at the beginning, and in particular related to the lawfulness of the data processing and the legal basis for this operation. Because in particular for the implementation of the GDPR in the Italian law, we had two types of problems. The first one was that we have different rules for research hospitals that basically are more free to do this operation, and the other centers who are not research hospitals. And then there are also, there have been during this process that brought us to the definition of the studies, different interpretation by the DPOs of the centers, even of the centers of the same type. So the first thing that we understood is that it was necessary to prepare a data protection impact assessment to evaluate the nature and severity of the risks that are originating from the processing operations. So as a node, we decided to lead this initiative, so to create a template for a data protection impact assessment for transferring data to an OMOP database. So for each clinical site, we will have one of these data protection impact assessment holding. And the objective of this was to create a document that could be customized, of course, by all the centers, but that included all the possible information to prepare a complete data protection impact assessment. Of course, tuned also on our specific country regulation constraints. So the process to get to this template was quite long. It took us more than 1.5 years. We started in January 2023 with a series of meetings with the DPOs of more than 10 of our centers in the national node. That was a great success, I think, because putting together all these people from different institutions was really a success and very fruitful meetings. And then in October 2023, we started to create the template of the DPIA with the support of 2 DPOs and one of the SMEs, Biomeris, who is part and co-leading our node with me. In August last year, we released a Microsoft Word template for the national nodes member. The template is a Word template. It is in Italian at the moment, with pre-filled standard sections and also areas that can be customized by each data partners, but these areas are not empty, but include notes and possible option for guiding the implementation. I will show you some examples. To create the data protection impact assessment, we follow this cycle of almost standard phases, most important being the assessment of the data processing with several characteristics coming from the GDPR, risk assessment and the calculation of the risk, and the risk mitigation measures identification. So in the following, we will see some example. As I told you, one of the main points of discussion for us was the data processing assessment related to several characteristics. As you see in this case, but also in many points of the data protection impact assessment, we have a question-driven data processing assessment with the different alternatives for the different types of centers, because as I said, we have different types of management for the different institutions that are highlighted in yellow for customization. So the specific center can take the yellow part, implement it, change it if they want. Regarding the lawfulness and legal basis, also thanks to an update of our national regulation implementing GDPR that is of May last year, we were able, since taking the concept of the patients is not possible, we can rely anyway on the processing that is necessary for scientific research purposes. Plus, in Italy, as I said, we have two different options for the research hospitals, since research is already in their mission, so they can rely on the consent that patients sign for care and for research to implement the OMOP database. For the other centers, instead, there are some rules, so we need to have an authorization of the ethics committee to run the study. Data protection impact assessment is prepared and published on the sponsors website, so sponsor of the study. And then the DPIA is to be notified to the Data Protection Authority, and this is the big improvement with respect to 1 year ago, because for the other centers, in principle, and at the beginning, a consultation with the Data Protection Authority was necessary and mandatory. Okay, so as you see here, there are other examples. For example, for the risk assessment, we provide guidelines on the definition of the impact and on the probability of occurrence of data protection issues. Also, in this case, we have a question guided process with the comments and suggestions for customization, plus a template, of course, of the matrix to compute the risk that will be then filled in by each partner. So as you see, all the notes are also other possible customizations. Same for the risk mitigation measures. We have a catalog of available and adopted mitigation measures with a list and description of each measure. Here you see an example of encryption with comments and suggestions for customization. So then how we manage our studies. So once all the centers have this data protection impact assessment in place, we also created a study data protection impact assessment that is then published. For example, there you see the screenshot of the DPIA, so of the website of our department, where the DPIA of the characterization study is published, and that is how we manage all the process. Okay, so thanks to all this work, we have been able to complete already 8 centers for the characterization study, and 4 are ready to run. So hopefully in a few time we will be able with the first results on this study, and also the sepsis study is at a good set point. We have brought the results, the first results of our studies in our National Node poster. So join us during the collaborator showcase if you want to see the numbers. So finally, we have been asked also to share what being part of OHDSI Italy means to us. So to me, as a researcher, the main feeling that I have related to being part of this community is that we are part of a community that addresses real need and work together to create a real impact on research. Often with the research projects, maybe we work a lot, but then the impact finishes at the end of the project. And this is not the case in our community because we are always ready to face and overcome new challenges. So for example, at the beginning, we thought we wouldn't have been able to run the studies, but then we did it thanks to the teamwork and the strong networks and the connection between the people part of the node. So also for the new people in OHDSI, what I think is that we are innovators. So our job is always first time. It's always the first time you do something. And you can also see it as a challenge, but it's also a first time and an opportunity. So within OHDSI, I think that teamwork and diverse skill can be the key to unlock new solutions. And when you have it, you are motivated to start a new challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We've been following this DPIA work that you guys have been doing from the sidelines for a little while now. And what I thought was very interesting yesterday is we had a meeting with all the national node leads, and you briefly said that you had done this work and that you would present on it today. And what we noticed is that you are not only doing the people in Italy a favor, but there were also requests from the other national nodes saying, hey, wait a minute, can we not borrow that from you? Now, you just said it was in Italian, but that's no longer a problem. We could just translate that. That's been solved for us. So yeah, it'd be good to see that that be shared so that other people don't have to do that for the first time, but then can just...
yeah, I think most of the document is... not very specific to Italy, so there are just some sections that are related to that lawfulness that are more specific, but the rest is shareable once it's translated.
Yes, and also an example of it can be done once you just get your act together and start doing it. I think what Alex said is a first step. Start talking to each other. And the next step, I think what you said, we thought we couldn't do it, but then we just went out and did it. I'm pressing, went out and did it. And then you see that things are possible. So thanks for that. Any questions? Danny? Oh, wait, I have a mic here.
Grazie, Lucia. Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My question was, and thank you for leading on this kind of thing that not many people want to do, but are totally required, right? My question was, your DPIA relates to the conversion of data into a research database.
Yeah.
In some part of Europe, like in the UK, for example, and I think sometimes in Spain as well, people do have a research database already that's kind of pseudonymized and I guess compliant with many certifications and so on and standards, but it's the conversion of that database that they need to do to OMOP. That wouldn't necessarily require an additional DPIA, right? I guess in your case, you're talking about the translation from a clinical database into a research database, be it OMOP or otherwise. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is a database that is collected mainly for clinical care that needs to be translated into a database for research. That's not that typical in Italy instead.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so that requires a data protection impact assessment.
But just to be clear, if you have already got a database that's in source format, whatever it is, but used for research, the conversion to OMOP is not requiring
should be
it.
already, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions from the room? Yeah. Okay, yeah, there's a question over there. But I'm thinking, oh, Ilse's going already. Thanks.
Hi there. Thank you. My name is Arie Haan. I'm from the Netherlands. And as we know, in Europe, we need to comply with the OHDSI law, just recently get into place. How do you think that your DPIA will help in that? And is it already enough for dealing with that, or do you just need a little customization for that?
No, for sure, this enables to having the OMOP databases in the data centers. So that's already a big step, I think, because then those data, so we don't have to do anymore the preliminary step to have a research database in the data centers. Then, of course, we'll see what we will need to share this data with the European health data space. There will be probably some other stacks to add to that. That's still not, I don't know what, but for sure we are, so that part is enabled. And I think it's already a good point to start.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You'll be around the rest of the day, so if people want to have your template, then find her. Yeah, for this one. Thanks very much. All right, the drug challenge. Last year in Rotterdam, all the node leads got on stage and we made a promise. I'm saying we, I think I made a promise, but I'm going to make it a little bit bigger now, so it's not my responsibility. We made a promise that we were going to start with a drug challenge. And the drug challenge was to make an inventory of all the drug vocabulary mappings that are available in Europe. So that's what we did. We sent out a questionnaire to everybody in Europe and got the answers. And what was on that questionnaire? Which drug vocabularies are being used in Europe, and have these vocabularies been mapped to the OMOP CDM? That led to 20 responses. Boo, yes, boo! I was hoping for so much more. So yes, if we then color in the countries that we got responses from, that does not look like Europe, does it? I mean, yeah, geography was not my best subject, but this is not supposed to be black here, right? What are you doing? Yeah, so where are you guys? Where are your answers? We didn't get the memo. You didn't get the memo. Okay, well, I'm going to send it out to you. You're not leaving here today without filling in that form. So, excellent. We will have more responses later. So just a few of the results of these 20 responses. I'm going to show them anyway because there were people that put a lot of effort into it. What we see from the 20 responses is that only half of them there was a mapping already included in the standardized OHDSI vocabularies. And of the half that had not yet been included, we asked, has the drug vocab been mapped to the OMOP CDM? That was a little bit more enlightening, and we got obviously 10 responses to that. And only one of them had not yet been mapped to the OMOP CDM. Some had been completely, others bits and pieces, or people were working on it. And then we asked, is this a mapping that you did by yourself, or did you share it with others? And only a third was shared. Boo! Right? That's what we do here. We share, we learn, we work together. So, and I mean, it's silly too, right? Because that means people have been doing work that you're not using, and you have to do the work too. I'm really lazy, so I would rather reuse something that somebody has done than sit down and think and work for myself. So that's why we are reusing a shared vocabulary. So we got to get this out there, right? I feel it's our responsibility to show the community what's available and let it be a starting point for others to use and perhaps improve if they find things that they say, hey, you're missing some things, or I feel this could be better. Let's talk to each other and see how we can improve there. So we have some work to do. I thought this would be like a really big thing. I'm just going to bring it back next year. And we have to have bigger results. And that is all of your responsibility, not just mine. So think about this, how you are going to contribute to this drug challenge during the next and last video that I will be showing you. And credits where credits are due. I did not make these wonderful videos. Ilse Vermeulen, hiding in the back of the room, spent blood, sweat, and tears making these videos. So a big applause for her. Thank you very much, Ilse. And I happen to know that's not the only thing she did for this symposium. So she just did that extra little thing for me. Thank you very much. Next one.
Greetings from Estonia.
The OHDSI community and the Estonian node are like a family where I always feel welcome, where I can meet passionate and curious people doing incredible things and always inviting me to join. It's a wonderful feeling that really touches the bottom of my heart.
Hola from Portugal.
Hello from Israel.
OHDSI is about generating reliable evidence through collaborative open research.
Hola! Hola from Spain.
Okay, so with these nice videos, the countries have been showcasing them to you. And you really want to start thinking about where you want to go next, right? Where do you want the Odyssey Europe Symposium to go? I think we've seen some very nice things. Do we want to go out in the snow? Do we want to go to the beach? Oh, I'm really curious as to where we are going to travel next. Okay, so our next speaker, I looked him up a little bit, and he describes himself as, I love science, tech, and collaborating with great people. Hold on a minute. The fact that he is here and the fact that we're here, that makes us great people, right? So see that as a compliment to yourself. Yeah, so please help me welcome the man who wears his clothes in the sauna and is the node lead of Odyssey Finland, Erik Fay. And you are now not going to get away with just keeping your mouth shut. I hope we're going to talk a little bit more.
I realize I have to talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't know why we did that. But thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And it's great to be here. And yes, you are all great people. And there's people I didn't meet yet, but you're probably also great. So I want to talk a little bit about swarm learning and then highlight some activities that we do in FinOMOP. So let's see how I can do this thing. So why we're doing this? Obviously, because we want to understand our data and make the best possible use of the data that we have. And we can do this, of course, through federated analytics like we do in the OHDSI studies, Eden, Darwin, and so forth. But we wanted to push this a little bit further, and that's maybe what you can see here. So we wanted to do federated machine learning, and that means training a joint model on the distributed data without ever disclosing the data, which can stay private and secure as it should. But what this requires is that you can exchange information about the parameters on the fly as you train the model. And this is challenging because, wrong direction, because in Finland we have this law, the Act on the Secondary Use of Health and Social Data, which goes much beyond GDPR. And the idea behind that is great, it's good, right? That you have a national data authority where you can go to and you can get your permit and your data through them, rather than shopping around in all the different data holders and so forth. But it also came with provisions of how and where these data can be processed. And that meant we need to process this data in secure processing environments. These are air-gapped, no internet connectivity. And when we have results, we cannot just get them out. They need to be anonymous. And the only authority to approve that they are anonymous is our national data authority, FinData. So we need to send it to FinData, they approve it, we get it out. And for federated analytics, that's completely fine. That works very smoothly now, that's all good. But then for machine learning, federated machine learning, we have a problem because we need to exchange information on the fly. So everybody said we cannot do this. It is not possible. But Kimmo, Porker, and I, we didn't believe this. We said, come on, we have to do this. We need to find a way. And the good thing is we did. We found a solution, and that's what I will talk about today. Oh, okay, I have all this stuff. So, of course, we know this. If the data look the same in a common data model like OMOP, we can run the same analytics, and it also facilitates this machine learning. So that's what we want to do. And crucially, the data, but also the predictions of the model can stay local, private, and secure. Now, why deep learning? Because it's very flexible. And this flexibility comes with performance. But in order to get there, it's also very data hungry. So in order to get there, if we just do something in our hospital or even in our country, we operate down here. So to really harness the power of deep learning, we need to collaborate, and then we can get to this point. So why swarm learning? I mean, you can do the central learning, so put all your data into one place, like FinData wants to do, and it's possible in Finland. You could think about that might be possible in Europe or whatever, but definitely it doesn't scale. It doesn't scale to the world. And if you think of other data types that are really large, definitely it doesn't work. Then federated learning emerged as a solution to do this, where the data stay local and you train the joint model. But there are some issues with that, trust, security, and so forth. It has a central orchestrator that takes control of the entire learning process, that gets the parameters that are being trained, aggregates them, and distributes them again. And this is sort of a monopoly of power in a sense. It also has security implications because it's a single point of attack. What if the central orchestrator gets compromised or hacked somehow? So we wanted to have a solution that gets rid of the central orchestrator. That's much more in our spirit of being completely transparent, completely democratic. And that's what we have with swarm learning. So everything happens here peer-to-peer. So we get rid of the central orchestrator. And that means that every node can see the training process, how it's going on. Everybody gets the model at the same time, and so forth. Now, this is how this looks like in our secure processing environment. We get the data and we provision it into our secure processing environment that's firewalled, and we have the model there as well. And the other partners do the same. And even though we use the internet to exchange the information about the model parameters and the model performance statistics on the fly, it doesn't mean it's exposed to the internet, right? So these connections are TTLS connections, they're secure and encrypted. And on top of that, now we're using VPN tunnels, so 2 layers of protection. And that's an important point. And here's how this looks like in practice. So how does it actually work? So you register your nodes to the swarm, and then you're part of the swarm. Then you start a local training. Does this work? Okay, there should be some stuff happening, but you get a local training and it goes to one node, which we call the Sentinel node, which becomes special, who merges the results and then distributes the results across the network again. And another time, another node might do that. So in that sense, it's completely democratic and transparent. And of course, you repeat this until you have trained the entire network. Your model sort of converges and everybody gets the model at the same time. Oh, no, here it goes. Okay. So that's the first one. Then you repeat this, and as you can see, now another node becomes a Sentinel one, and so forth. Now, the use case we wanted to use for this was AML, acute myeloid leukemia, and the reason is there was a model from the Sanger Institute, which you can see here, and clinicians are using that. They put in some characteristics, blood count measurements, age of the patients, and so forth, just to see what might happen to this patient, what's likely to happen in terms of relapse or survival, and so forth. And it's not a clinical decision tool or anything like that. There's some limitations. It's a couple of years old. It's based on 3 clinical trials, so it doesn't reflect the real-world situation that we have in the clinics, and it doesn't reflect the current up-to-date situation. So we thought, what if we build a model like this with real-world data up-to-date? Then we have something really great. And here you can see on the left, on the left, these blue boxes. These are the blood count measurements they had in the model. And these were only at the point of diagnosis, so one-time point measurements. So the first thing we did was looked across the network in Finnish hospitals, run a small study to actually see what do people have and what's in routine. And what you can see is all these red boxes. So this is all a differential blood count, which goes into much more detail. That is done as routine across all the hospitals. And not only on the point of diagnosis, but every couple of days. So a lot of longitudinal data. That's very rich information, and we thought, why not use that? Then we built a model, very simple, a vanilla network, fully connected to hidden layers, connected to a time-to-event model at the end. And what I will show you, let's go back, data from the HUS, only 600-odd patients that we split it in training, validation, and test set. And here you see the results. So basically, the model can stratify patients into different risk groups, which you see here. This is on the training set. And it looks very much like it's on par, if not better, than the guidelines risk classification from the ELN. And of course, here I didn't use any of the diagnostic makeup information. I didn't even use the age or the gender, right? So we can include that as well. Now, if you look at the test set, the performance deteriorates a little bit, but you still can identify these very high-risk patients. And also the patient numbers are getting quite small now. Now, the obvious question now is, what if we scale this, right? If we do this in Finland with European data, worldwide data, how much better can we get? And also, once you have that, you can do a lot of things. So we can ask, how much longitudinal data do we need, right? We started out with 3 weeks. Do we even need that? So we scaled that down, and turns out that 15 days, around 2 weeks, is enough to get a good stratification, risk classification. If you go beyond that, it sort of gets lost, and at the point of diagnosis is almost meaningless. Also indicating that the longitudinal aspect is very important. Now, I don't want to go, there's ongoing work, we have a lot going on, but the biggest thing here is that this is certified by our national data authority. So by which I mean the swarm learning framework. We have an implementation that enables us to do federated learning. It's audited. Some of these provisions that we need to check are military grade, so the Finnish military uses the same. Hyper secure, audited by the FinData. So that's probably the strongest point. So if we can do it with our strict law, no one has an excuse, to be honest. So we are now actively looking for collaborators to do this and also on other use cases. Now I just want to switch gears a little bit, talk quickly about FinOMOP and highlight a couple of things. So in FinOMOP, what we are aiming for is a population-based health data infrastructure that is nationwide and comprehensive, covering the primary care, the secondary care, and also the specialist treatments. So we start, and Kimmo Porka is really the godfather who was driving and pushing all of this, but there is an, how we call it, steering group that takes care of this, and their stakeholders, they're part of each stakeholder group. And what we have is the 3 largest university hospitals. They are in OMOP. And we have onboarded, and we also have the THL, so the national registries. These are nationwide. And we're onboarding now the last 2 university hospitals to get hospital data nationwide. And we had, Oulu is doing great. They got some funding, and they are now transforming. And what we do in OHDSI Finland is we meet twice a year face-to-face, and we rotate the city. So last year we had one in Kuopio, our newest partner, and this year we are very excited in October to go to Oulu, so far up north for the first time. And then we have the working groups, so there's 3 of them. The analytics working group driven by Mariana, the CDM working group by Sampo, and the vocabulary working group by Gustav. And Gustav really is a key person. He's a co-lead, so he's doing this with me, and he's doing all the work, to be honest. I just talk. And he's taking care of the FinOMOP collaboration space, so that's a place where we keep the meeting notes and documentation and stuff like that. All right, so I want to highlight this. We have a lot of Finnish specific vocabularies that we need to map, and we take care of that, and it's version controlled in GitHub. And this is really work driven by Javier and now also by Sam. But there's a couple of contributors that actually commit to that, and Anna is one of those. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how this works and what the tools are, there's 2 showcases by Sam and Javier, software showcases. Please go and visit them. Then we have a dashboard that keeps track of the mapping status and the vocabularies across the different institutions, for example. We are part of Darwin, and FinOMOP is a little bit special in that even though we have the data in the individual hospitals and the registry of the THL, the National Institute of Health, we have one single contact point coordinated through the THL with a contact point for Darwin, and they coordinate that. And if you want to learn more about that, there's a national poster, please go there. One key highlight, a really cool thing that we did was this ICANN study-a-thon, so that we call now the Falcon study on lung cancer. We wanted to keep it small, but it grew completely out of proportion and became very big, so 17 data partners at that point. I think now we are over 30. So, oh, okay, large. And this was led by Kimmo Porka, sponsored through ICANN, but then Asia was really implementing that and making all that happen, and incredibly fast. So thanks to that, you can go to her poster to check that out if you want to learn a bit more about oncology readiness and how you fit in there. And then Valtteri has a poster on a study-a-thon. The results will be released at ESMO, but if you want to learn a little bit more, go to poster 4. And Valtteri really is a key person for us at the FUS and FinOMOP in all things OMOP, especially if you want to dig out data from our data swarms sometimes, or figure out how new procedures and doing them in a systematic way. On a personal note, what does it mean to be part of OHDSI? For me, it means you can be in a room, and the study-a-thons are great, because there's an expert for anything somewhere. And this is really transformative. So this is the first study-a-thon I went to, and at the time, I was still fighting to get the package to run. And I solved it at the study-a-thon, and that was great. And it's a place where colleagues and collaborators can become friends, and this is transformative, both on the professional but also the personal level. So how can we inspire others to join? For me, is the realization that you're part of a global community. And I know I'm over time, but I make this quick. So here's an example of that. And it's really driven by a common understanding that we all live in our little corners of the world, but together we can achieve something amazing that we couldn't do alone. So I reached out to the Japanese nodes and got a lot of contacts there, learned a lot. This is really great. And I want to finish with this statement. And this is very dear to my heart, that especially as custodians of high quality granular health data, we have a really profound obligation to society, to humanity if you wish, to make the best possible use of the data. And that includes looking at medicines and their effectiveness like Darwin does. And it includes pharma, because let's not forget, without pharma, we wouldn't have any of those medicines. And with that, I have to thank everybody. I work with a great bunch. These are the people who actually make it work. I cannot put everybody on a slide even, but these are great people, and I feel I couldn't be more grateful to be able to work with them. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Yes, very, very inspiring. Thanks for sharing many stories with us today, Eric. And another, I think, a great example of seeing something that you think is not possible, and that is saying we're just going to do it. So I think that's excellent. And it's what Patrick said in the beginning. You know, we want bigger, better, more, bolder. And I think you guys are a very, very good example of that. And I hope it's an inspiration to very many in the room. Questions?
Hello, thank you for presentation. It's possible that I misunderstood the technology innovation you presented, and my question is there any probability of mistake and any estimates with new innovative like study approach you presented?
Yeah, so the question is there a possibility of a mistake? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. But
maybe I misunderstood the concept, because when you have all federated or centralized orchestrators, so the probability of mistake is that orchestrator is failing, and you started from
It's mainly a question of trust, right? So of course, central orchestration is nice because it's easy to implement, and it makes sense for the things like Google, Meta, or Big Pharma who have data everywhere around the world and want to keep control. So that's where it comes from. And of course, if you do anything peer-to-peer, it becomes much more complicated. It's not just one guy you talk to, you need to figure out how to go through the network. So it's a pain to implement, but it's much more secure because you don't have a single point of attack. And the crucial thing that we have in the swarm learning, which was important, is a zero trust implementation. And no other frame, there are, but it's crucial because it means that every transaction is certified. You don't trust, you always need to verify this. So all the microservices verify each other with short-lived certificates. And if something goes wrong somewhere, the communication just doesn't happen. It's a pain to troubleshoot and to set up, but it makes it very secure. And we have now a one-liner that spins up the whole orchestration networks once it's configured with IP addresses. So that's nice. The other point is, of course, you need to look at the model that you want to train and so forth. But I forgot what I want to say, but this was a critical one, I think. That it's certified by FinData, so that's the biggest achievement for us, that we have this sort of certification. To our knowledge, no other federated learning framework is certified for health data on that level.
So it looks to me that if I ask a question and ask in this model, then I will get near 100% like reliable result.
So the model that I just showed, that really depends. That's not just based on the HUS data results that I showed you. So we really need to roll this out and validate in as many distributed databases of how we want. So what we want to do is whoever is ready to do the swarm learning, we can onboard and we will learn the model together with them. And people who are not ready with that but want to contribute, we give them the model that we trained and just validate it.
But what about model hallucination and all of those specifics?
Good point. So this was a very simple model. There's no generative element to it. So with that, it's relatively simple. Of course, we do a lot of work now validating to explain the predictions, feature importance, and all of that. And we benchmark it against the current state of the art. We're working on our own transformer models, completely different story on tabular data, but it's looking really good. So I'm very excited about that. We stay away from large generative networks like GANs or LNMs and training them on sensitive data. So if you have a desensitized data set, dates relative, no social security numbers, no names, a couple of lab measurements and genomics, that's sort of relatively safe. And then we put that through the model, which is relatively straightforward, feed-forward neural network, and so forth. Then that's all relatively fine. But we look at the grid of things. Data sensitivity we put in and risk of the model. So if you are in large language models with sensitive text, we stay away from that, so we blacklist those, we don't train those. And then we have these whitelisted models that we can do, and then we have these gray areas where we look in particular. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much. We have 2 hours this afternoon where we all get to run around and chat to each other. So if you have any more questions for Eric, please go and find him this afternoon. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap up this session. I love the plenary program always at the OHDSI Europe Symposia. But for me, one of the most valuable things is the time in between, where you get to meet new people, chat to new people, come up with crazy, insane ideas that I heard last night, which we will be sharing with you sometime, just not now. And this is actually, I think, an example of that. This is a picture taken last year where we kind of had a little huddle and decided, wouldn't it be nice if we moved to Belgium next year? So, you know, it could just be happening anywhere in the hallways here today. I'm going to highlight the national nodes again. We are just outside the auditorium. We all have posters up. The nodes leads will be there. So if you are not yet part of a node or you want to start a node, that's where you want to go. We will lure you with goodies and treats. So make sure you don't miss out. But we are also going to ask you to contribute, because if you think you can just sit on your lazy all day, you are so wrong. We have a couple of posters up, empty posters as well, and we would like your contribution. So this is your chance to share with us how your national node can help you, or perhaps how you can help your national node. And we have 3 topics, kind of 3 objectives that we have formulated with the national nodes that we would like to work on and that we would like your input on. So please feel free to write on the posters, that's what they are there for, and contribute your ideas. So the first objective is expanding our OHDSI community in Europe through improved communication and outreach. So what can we do there? The second objective is supporting education on secondary data use with the OHDSI tools. Obviously, we have the Eden Academy, but what else can we put out there? And the third one is to promote knowledge sharing and collaboration on an EU level. And I think the OHDSI community calls that Peter introduced this morning will be a first step in that direction. So if you feel you want to be on one of the first community calls and showcase what you have done, then definitely write it out on the poster. I got a big flashing sign at the end of the room saying I have 15 seconds to end this session, so I think I'm going to be just in time. On behalf of all the national nodes and the people that presented here, thank you for your attention. We have some goodies for the speakers here today that Ilse will be giving to you. I've tried them and they are very, very nice, so make sure you enjoy them. We look forward to chatting with you, seeing you around, and oh yeah, that's us, by the way, in case you don't know who your node leads are. We made this beautiful picture by our new in-house photographer. She's running around somewhere. So there you are. Those are your node leads. Looking forward to meeting you. And for now, coffee. Finally, you made it through the first session. Thank you very much.